Hey there, welcome back to another episode of the show. I'm so glad you're here. I do this for you. So I am excited that we can get into a conversation today that is going to help you or that matters to you. I'm your host, Anna Gibbs, and it's really a pleasure for me to connect with you like this every week. And my goal on this podcast is to share some ideas and thoughts and for that to be the first thing that you think about for the new week ahead of you, as you know, we call this Monday Morning Mojo because I want to help you set the tone for your week. And today's topic is one that maybe we haven't talked about before, or at least in a while, and yet it affects a lot of things that you do. And of course, it is going to come back to your mindset and the level of your thinking because what we're going to talk about today is how we can actually declutter our minds. Because I believe that on any day, we are bombarded with so much information. We are thinking, planning, strategizing, questioning, answering, leading, guiding, following, right? We have so much information coming at us in our professional world and our personal life. And I know that if you're like me, you could feel like you have all these thoughts just kind of bouncing around in your head and you have all of these great ideas and yet you struggle with implementation or you struggle with trying to process and actually making a plan to see the things that you have going on in your head come to life. And so I believe that we have a way to declutter our mind the same way that we can declutter our space around us. So, this is going to give you some practical ideas and some steps to help you break down some of the chaos, break down some of those ideas and thoughts, just like you would if you opened the door to that messy closet. We're going to take it step by step and help you start to make sense of some of those thoughts and ideas that are taking up space in your mind. And I believe that mental clutter is real. And if it's left unchecked, it could really sabotage our focus. It can get in the way of our productivity. It could even start to rob us of a little peace. So I'm going to walk you through 10 ways to declutter your mind today that will help you also build some mental muscle and create more space for clarity, creativity, and being present. Because when you have a lot of ideas rattling around in your mind and you're really finding that you have this mental clutter, I believe that it gets harder for us to stay present because I believe that our thoughts start taking us in all the different directions that reflect all the ideas and all of the information that is taking up some space, taking up some real estate in our minds. And so we're going to go over these 10 ways to declutter your mind today. And I trust that this is going to be exactly what you needed right now to help you move forward. I think when you hear these 10 steps or 10 ways to declutter your mind, you're going to agree that it might seem simple. It's just not always easy. And so we'll talk about some ways to make it easier for you to follow through on this. All right, so let's just jump in. Tip number one, prioritize sleep. I think we often underestimate the power of good sleep. I have become much more aware of this in the last few years. And for years and years, I would say or even celebrate that I could get by on little sleep and that I was this little powerhouse that could do all these things in a day. And maybe I only needed 5 hours of sleep. And I realized that as I get older, that's just not too wise. And as I get older, my body does need more. And so we have to understand too about the sleep that we get. It's not only about the hours. It's also about the quality of sleep. Now there's a lot of research out there, guys, that will tell you that a good night's sleep should be at least 7 hours, and that's my goal every night, if not 8. And yeah, it means I had to adjust my routine. I had to find ways to get to bed earlier. I had to find ways to also minimize some of the noise before I went to bed. Like for me, being on my devices up until bedtime is not always good for me. And so I'm trying hard to break that habit, and it is a challenge, but I'm trying to do that because I want to have better quality sleep. And what research has shown, besides the number of hours, is that we should be looking to have a good chunk of that time be in REM sleep. And that has a direct impact on brain health. So, lack of sleep can affect your ability to think clearly and strategically. And so, if you are looking for ways to boost your mental clarity, if you're looking for a way to really get into decluttering your mind, then let's start with some better sleep hygiene. And I invite you to do your own research and figure out what is going to be good for you. But I would say for most of us, if we can get a solid 7 hours of sleep, I think over a short period of time, you're going to find how that helps you to feel better. It helps you to stay in focus and clarity more. And it really is a huge benefit to your health, mental and physical, to prioritize your sleep. So that is tip number one. Tip number two, this might be for some, but not for all, but I feel like this is easier than it sounds. Tip number two, practice some meditation. And I say this because I don't want the word to intimidate you. Meditation doesn't have to be long or complicated. It doesn't have to be anything more than just taking a few minutes, could be 3, 5 minutes to just get quiet. And I find that when I'm aware of this and I take that time, sometimes a few times a day, to just sit in silence for a few minutes and just quiet my thinking, try to quiet my mind, avoid some distractions, focus a little bit on my breathing, taking in some deeper breaths and, deeper inhalations and exhalations. I feel like it really does so much to reset my nervous system. And if I can accomplish a couple of, because I say that truthfully, sometimes I can't. Sometimes I am working at a high pace, or I know all the things that I'd like to get to or accomplish. So sometimes I'm challenged to find 5 minutes, but I make this a practice. I'm getting better at it. So we can work on it together. And I will tell you that even just a couple of minutes can, really reset your nervous system if you can just quiet down the noise, focus on your breathing, and become aware of your thoughts. And when you do, that awareness could be the first step to refocusing them. And I will just say, be aware of your own self talk during this quiet time, because what you want to avoid is getting into a hyper mode of, oh my gosh, I really shouldn't be doing this. This is a waste of my time. I really should be focusing on, all the things, right? And so just taking a few minutes to quiet down, slow down your breathing, reset your nervous system, get more aware of how you're thinking, can do a lot to get some clarity. So I wanted to include that in there. Okay. Tip number three. If you know me, if you've worked with me, if you've coached with me, I have said this to you before, and it's one of my favorite things for myself and to offer up as a support or suggestion for anyone who feels like they have so much chaos going on in their brain and they have all of this mental clutter. Tip number three is something that I call the mind dump. It's easy. It's literally just taking all the things, all the thoughts, all the ideas, and start putting it on paper. And I do mean paper. I mean, if you want to start doing your mind dump on your phone or your tablet, okay. But I have to say, sometimes, again, we have to get away from the electronics, get away from that blue light, and sometimes just having the old-fashioned pen and paper is a great way for you to connect a little deeper with your subconscious mind. And if you can just start to download all the things that you're thinking and holding on to, and you are able to get it on paper instead of carrying around all the to dos, all the worries, all the ideas in your head, and just put that pen to paper, it's literally clearing out your mental closet, right? So picture your messiest closet and you just going in there and starting to pull everything out and sorting it out on the floor. That's what I'm suggesting with the mind dump. So if you start to download all the ideas in your head, you may want to take that piece of paper. This is why I like the paper, because it's just quick and simple. if you can take a big piece of paper and fold it, let's say into four squares, as you're thinking of things and you're downloading and putting it out on paper, you can start to sort it out. You might have a box that is for work related things or career related things. Maybe you have another one that's more personal, or even you can get even more specific. Maybe you're working on a home renovation, so you have a box for that. Maybe there's a section of your paper that's related to your kids, like they have sports or dance or gymnastics or whatever, camp. I love to be able to take all these ideas and sort them like laundry, or like the things in your closet, in your cluttered closet. And when you can do this kind of mind dump, not only are you creating more space here mentally for clarity, but now you get to look at it. Now you see all this stuff on the paper, and I can continue sorting. So if I have these four boxes, these four different areas, I can start with the first box. Let's say it's related to my career. And now I get to look at that, and it's external, it's no longer up here. The value of that too is that our thoughts are affected by our feelings, and our feelings are affected by our thoughts. And so if I can get it out of my mind and onto paper, it's living outside of me, and it may change the way I feel about it. It's possible, right? So now when I look at that list, I can reprioritize. I can look at all the things in my career box and decide what is the very first thing I should work on? What's the first domino? And I choose that domino maybe because it is the priority, or because I know it's sequential in the sense that if I can do that, it leads to succeeding in other things. And so now I can resort that list and reprioritize, and then make a decision about what I do first. Unlike when it's all up in here and it's all mixed in, where I'm thinking about a project at work and the very next thought is about registering one of the kids for football, or then I start thinking about, hiring or getting an estimate from a contractor, or then I think about that bridal shower I have to plan, all the things, right? And so when we have the ability to sort it out, we can definitely take it in steps and have clarity, instead of this ping pong game that plays in our mind a lot of times. So I love that. My tip for you, number three, is mind dumping. And then number four, I would say, is similar in a way to mind dumping. It's writing, but it's really more about journaling. And I think it's about journaling your feelings, because I just mentioned a moment ago that your thoughts and your feelings are working together, in the sense that whatever you're thinking can create what you're feeling, and whatever you're feeling can create what you're thinking. And so if you're feeling heavy at times, or anxious or sad or overwhelmed, write about it. Journaling helps you release emotional buildup and gain perspective. So I think this is a great way to declutter the things in our mind. And listen, remember, guys, you don't need to be a writer. This is not about writing something that anyone will ever see. This is for you. Just let it flow. It doesn't even have to be grammatically correct. You don't have to worry about spelling. It's just really the act of putting feelings into words, and how freeing that is. I've done this so many times when I've been, in the past, when I'm struggling with different feelings around certain situations or even people. I've written myself a letter. I've written a person that I feel I'm having some sort of struggle with the letter. They never got the letter, but it gave me an opportunity to really get my thoughts and feelings out. Same thing, when you're holding on to your thoughts and feelings, it can create a lot of secondary feelings for you, a lot of stress or anxiety. It can change the way you look at things. It can really alter your sense of reality. So I can't emphasize enough the power of journaling. And again, it doesn't even have to be a set notebook that you keep that has this chronological, entry. I have some notebooks myself like that. And it's funny. Sometimes I go in them and I'm like, the last time I wrote in here was 6 months ago. It's okay. It Sometimes I journal on a piece of paper and throw it away. It's just getting the information or the thoughts and feelings out of your mind. Now, if you want the history of a journal, then that's fine. You can certainly find beautiful journals to keep all of your, thoughts and feelings maybe daily in there that you can look back on. I know many people. Diana Kokoska comes to mind. She's been a guest on my show a few times. She's a coach too, and one of my mentors. And she's got probably every journal she's ever written in since she was a teenager. And, there's so much value in that. Yeah, it doesn't have to be that way for you. It's just really getting things out of you so that you can move forward and feeling lighter. So, tip number 5, reclaim your time. Sometimes we lose track of how we're spending our time. I know I can't be the only one that can admit to saying that it feels like sometimes hours can vanish, especially like on a Saturday morning from just me scrolling and looking up things online or even shopping online, right? There are distractions around us all the time. And sometimes those distractions show up in people, in events. It doesn't always have to be, just the habits that we engage in. It could be a part of our environment. But I think we have to be mindful of how much time we're spending on something that isn't helping us stay focused or in priority for, staying really focused on the things we want to do. So what can you do to reclaim that time? Maybe a tip I could share with you is to audit your schedule. Just take a look at how you're spending your day. Take a look at what shows up on your calendar. More importantly, take a look at what doesn't show up on your calendar, because that may be an opportunity for you to re-examine, are my priorities on my calendar? Am I making time for the things that matter, that move me closer to my goals? So look at your routine, look at how you spend your time, and just ask yourself, are they aligned with my goals? And are they serving me peace of mind? I am being much more mindful right now of doing the things that bring me joy, and I am absolutely asking myself questions around my peace of mind. And so you don't need permission to do that. I'm here to tell you that you have every right to look at how to reclaim your time and align it with your values, align it with your goals, and align it with finding inner peace. That will do a lot to declutter your thinking. Okay, tip number 6, limit inputs. What do I mean by that? Kind of what I said when we started this conversation. We are just bombarded by information constantly: social media, news, emails, texts. It's a lot. Decluttering your mind sometimes means decluttering the input your mind is receiving, decluttering your digital space. It might be time to set some boundaries. It might be time to start small. Just unplug for half an hour. Put your phone somewhere where you won't see it. Be intentional about creating some silence for yourself, some quiet time, and be intentional about disconnecting from the input that starts to fill up our mind and create that clutter. Okay, tip number 7, create space to be present. We talked a little bit about meditation a second ago, and I talked about being present. And again, this is still something I'm working on too, guys, but presence, being really present, it's a superpower. I really admire those of you who can do it on a regular basis. I think that when your mind is constantly racing, you're just not here. You can't be, right? Because if your mind is always racing and processing and thinking and jumping from one idea to the next or one task to the next, then you just can't be here. You're not present. So if you could start to take some of that back, and again, I'm not saying that you're going to make a complete overhaul, a complete 180, but if you could just start to pull back a little bit in some of these things, if you could practice showing up fully in your conversations more, if you could practice showing up fully at work, right? Even if it's just at some times during the day, if you could practice being more present, even in your moments of rest and downtime, right? So, in other words, if you decide, you know what, I'm going to pick up a book and I'm going to sit on my deck and I'm going to read my book for 30 minutes, then try really hard to just focus on your book for 30 minutes and not let other thoughts creep in, and allow yourself and your brain that time to rest. I think the more present we are, the more peace we'll feel. So this could be another thing that seems small but could have huge implications, positive implications for you. All right, tip number 8, set clear priorities. I think that this is huge because here's the thing, and this could be for some of you what is causing a lot of the mental clutter. If everything feels urgent, nothing gets done well. Because what'll happen to you is because you think everything feels urgent, you're trying to do a little bit of a lot of things throughout the day, which means you're really not getting very far in any one thing. And so, or you're just not giving any one thing 100%. So let's stop that. Let's take a time out and take a minute and define what actually matters to you, or define what is actually in what we call your 20%, right? We've talked about this before. You probably have heard about the 80-20 rule. It's the Pareto principle. And what the Pareto principle teaches us is that there's this predictable imbalance to things in life. Not everything or every activity is created equal. Some things are just not as important as something else. And it's up to us to make that discernment. It's up to us to understand how we define priority. So you'll have to go through that as an exercise and really make some decisions about what actually matters and also what deserves your energy, what needs your energy versus what doesn't, versus what can wait or be delegated, because clarity creates momentum. And that's another thing. If you think after listening to this with me today that maybe you've been struggling with some mental clutter, you probably understand then that that's one of the reasons, if not the reason, why you feel like you can't move forward. It's because you're literally stuck in all of that. And so clarity does create momentum. So I think helping us to set some clear priorities is huge. All right, we're going to wind down now with 9 and 10. So number 9, just I think this one is huge too. Move your body. Physical movement clears mental fog. I know for me, I've definitely taken a step out of the office to get a breath of fresh air. Maybe a walk around the block. Listen, little things like that for a couple of minutes a day is not cheating. You're still being productive. You're actually taking a stand for your productivity by doing that and getting outside to walk around, stretch, get some fresh air, maybe even put some music on and dance if appropriate, depending on where you're working. I'll tell you, during COVID, when I was working from home, long days, as many of you were, and just really feeling like the heaviness of our situation or the confusion and having to do so much to not only figure things out for myself, but for others. I would throw on some music for a few minutes and just shake and dance around and move my body. And that was awesome because it just relieves the steam valve a little bit. So moving your body can definitely help to actually move stagnant energy throughout your body and move it out of your body and out of your mind. So we could do a lot to talk. I could spend a lot of time talking about the effects of energy, but I think that we have to recognize that we can move energy in and out of our body. And so doing that kind of movement, that kind of stretching and dancing can move stagnant energy, which can free up your mental energy too. Okay, and the last one I have for you is protect your energy. So remember this, your mental clarity is sacred. Your mental clarity is sacred. So pay attention to the things that drain you. Notice who drains you. It's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to say no. It's okay to say, you know what, time out, I'm pausing. Focus on what brings you energy. And in doing that, you will protect your peace. And I just want to say this, friends, protecting your peace is not selfish, it's self preservation. It is absolutely necessary. If you want to be a contributor, if you want to be productive in this world, if you want to give to others, if you want to be a leader, a supporter, an influencer, this is so important. You can't give what you don't have. So please know that all these things that we're talking about, this one might deserve the asterisk. You have to really do everything you can to protect your energy. So here's the truth. I think we always want to show up as our best self. I do. I believe every one of us wants to show up as our best self every day. I believe on January 1st, every one of us has great intentions about what we want the year to look like. And I know sometimes we can lose a little of that spark. We can lose a little bit of the vision. We can lose a little bit of the momentum. But I think that at the end of the day, we really just want to be our best. And so that doesn't only happen by setting goals. It's so much more than that, right? It's so much more than just setting goals. It happens by making the decisions and the choices that allow us to support the goals with clear thinking, emotional awareness, and some intentional action. And so that's why I wanted to have this conversation today, because I think decluttering your mind is not a one-time event. I think it's a habit, right? It's the same thing that happens in our house, right? You can clean out your closet and then you open the door 3 months later, you're like, what happened? Same thing with our mind. So just think of it that way. Decluttering your mind is not a one-time event, it's a habit. And when you build this mental muscle, you can create the clarity and capacity to achieve what really matters to you. So that's what I have to share with you this week. And here's what I know is true. I know this was really powerful for some of you. So if this episode helped you reset your mindset, I'd love for you to share it. Invite a few friends to the podcast and share the things that matter to you, share the episodes that resonated with you. It would mean the world to me for you to do that. We also have our Monday Morning Mojo Facebook group, so invite your friends to that. You can share episodes from YouTube or any of the podcast platforms you're listening to this on, and we can grow this community together, because I think that when we rise higher, we can do so much more if we do that together. So if you're really growing because of this, share it with someone else. And right now, I'm going to invite you to please give me a 5-star review. That would mean a lot as well. And I just want to thank you so much for starting your week with me. So go make it a powerful one, and I'll talk with you next time.